Ta tishiro tata ki te whenua nei. Ko pare, nā hiwi roto I te whenua, enare ko nā wāhi I whakatipu mai nā manuka, kei te maitonu, kei te maitonu. Pēnei a tātou I te rānei. Mā te whakapono, mā te tika, ka tipu mai.
Kei te mautonu.
Te kawa. O tira kei te mihati kia kote I runga, ia tātou manuhiri ko tātou mai, tēnā kote. Mai ho mā te koraua tēnei te whakatau. Taku hona re nei, e taki te hakamui michi, te whakawhetai atu ki a rāta nei. I runga tēnei taku hei piripiri, taku hei mokemo. Taku hei tāwhiri, taku kai chitara me koe te mau ko te motu ka matu a marawu e hia. Ko tātou nā māuku nei, te chipare, mo tō tātou kaupapi te rānei. E aka moi michi atu ki a kauta I runga tēnei whakatākina te kawa nui, ka te kawa rō. Te kawa e whakatiki-tiki I a tātai nei I runga I te rāne. Ia hei mātai te whakatūtuki nā hia nā karango o tātai nei iwi. Ke noho puno tātou I runga I tēnei ke rapu tātai I tēnei me te haumarutanga. Ka noho hānea tātai I roto I tēnei whare. Tēnei te karanga, tēnei te reo mai o haki a kōtanei. Mā kōtau te māuku, mā mātai oki. Te māuku nei. Ke eke tārua tū ki te rangi, ke eke panuku, ke eke tangaro, ke eke. Hei runga te taumata ka whakarite ngia nei, te taumata o mātangi nei. Tēnei te karanga, tēnei te reo. E mihi atu ki a kōtau. Hei runga I tēnei tākine te kawa. Ara te keke te mai, te ara mai. E manu tipua whakarongo tā te tōre ki te tōre ki tai. Ko hete mai o ngutu e ko tūmatoinga ki te tāmau e ko ronga ki te tahamatau. E tū numi, e tū rawi, e tū pākaurorohi, whakahotu nuku, whakahotu rangi e manua. Ko tāu manua ka tōku manua ka whakaia I runga tēnei whare. Hei tā huhu mō tātou, tūturo whiti, whakamaua ki a china.
Tēnā.
Hei mea hui, e.
Tai.
Kia ora mai tapa.
Tēnā koe tīwara. Pātira tikana kia mihi atu kia tāta. Kia koe Kirsten, e whakahare nei huki te waka nei o te kaunihera, hei te mihi atu. Huri mai rā kia koe Louise, no mai nei wainui a tātou. Kia koutou ki ngā api hā o te kaunihera, hoki mai rā kia koutou e ngā kanohi marae, ke wanginui a tātou. Tēnei te mihi atu ki a tātou, I runga te kaupapa o tēnei rā. Tika tonu me mihi atu ki a rātou, kua mene atu ki te po. Rātou I hinga ake nei, hinga ake nei, I runga wā tātou marae maha. I runga wā tātou papakainga. Rātou me ki, kua riro ki te taipari āmata. Ene ka ki atu ki a rātou haere atu koutou moi mai. Moi mai. Hoki mai rā ki a tātou, hika ka mihi atu ki a tātou. Te rau kohe, ene ta mihi atu ki a koe. Arohaki ki tō pāpā, e tō hui pera, tō māma huki a moana, tō whānau huki. Nau mahara mai. Kāra te kumero a tia, hoi no ka mihi atu ki a tātou. Tēnā koutu ka ti mai, tēnā huki tātou katoa. Apologies. We have an apology for Councillor McGrath and Coralie Thompson. Councillor, gee, I've got to get my eyes done, mate. Graham. Aye. And Emma Uriaro of Timikara is unable to, has resigned in fact, and her replacement will be named in due course. Do we have any other apologies, please? That being so, would like to move to receive these apologies, please. Thank you. Seconder.
And just through the chair, Joe's online.
Joe's online.
Joe Tariha's online.
Aye, tēnā koe, Joe.
Kia ora.
No other apologies? All in favour? Aye. Conflicts of interest. Any conflicts of interest, please? Beautiful. We're sailing along lovely. I'd like to introduce Te Raukohe Hughes. Well, a flash name, Te Raukohe. On behalf of the Electoral Commission. The forum is yours. Te Raukohe.
Kia ora mai tātou, hei whakamohio atu ko ai au. Ko Te Raukohe Hughes, I marino ki te whānau Hughes, engari he uri tēnei no te whānau Whenoroa, no te whānau Hawkins hoki, o tēnei rohe, no te whānau Kā ki roto o rangitukia ki te taira. So I tēnei rau kua tai mai au, hei kanohi kite mo te Electoral Commission, and I'm just here to have a quick kōrero about the Māori electoral option, which is closing on the 13th of July. Nā rehe aha tēnei mea, te Māori electoral option. Māori electoral option is a choice for Māori about which electoral role you would like to be on, whether that is the Māori role or the general role. There has been a change in law, and that happened last year, and now Māori have the opportunity to change between the roles anytime they like, right up until 3 months before a general election. Nā reira, he mea pai tēnā mō tō tātou iwi Māori. It used to be we had to wait every 5 or 6 years before we were given the opportunity to switch between the two roles. So, I mean, for whānau who haven't enrolled, you have the opportunity to decide when you enroll. Kei a koe tērā, so especially for our rangatahi who are yet to enroll, they get the opportunity to choose which role they'd like to be on when they enroll. Engari mō tātou ke who are already enrolled, we have up until the midnight, 13th of July this year, before it's closed, before the general election in October. If you know anyone who would like to switch, ka taia te pēnei ki runga ke I tō mātou paitukutuku, vote.nz, and you will need to have either a passport, a license, or a verified RealMe account to do that. Otherwise, you can do it, you can phone our 0800 number and have a pack sent out to you where you don't need to provide any sort of ID. I mean, e hara I te mea katoa o ka kōrero, he whakamohio noiho, kua huakina tēnei tatau, kia tātou te iwi Māori. And if anyone has anything that they would like me to present to marae whānau or any smaller communities, even just to pop in, kia whakamohio atu I nei momo tinihanga, kei te wātea mātou. Koera no tōku, and ina he pātai, ka taia te pātai mai. Ki te kore, kei ana tā mātou whakāturanga, nā reira e tae ana ia te tuku atu ki ngā whānau maha ki te hihia. Mōhio kōrero anō. Koera no tāku. Ngā mihi.
Any questions for Te Raukohe? Yes.
Kia ora, thank you for the presentation. Just wanted to clarify, previously you weren't able to switch between the roles in between, for instance, the local and central government elections, and now you are able to, is that correct, provided you do it within that 3-month window?
Yes, that's correct. So once October 15th comes this year, whānau are able to change from that date right up until 3 months before the next local elections.
That's fantastic, thank you.
Any other questions? Looks like that's it. Te Raukohe.
Ngā mihi. Kia pai te hui.
Cool. I have no announcements as chairperson. Any announcements for management? No announcements by Morihu for management. Can we confirm those? Everyone's had an opportunity to read the minutes? Of course they have. Any discussion on the minutes, please? Someone like to move those minutes, please? Thank you. Seconded, Kirsten. All in favour? Aye. Aye. Agenda items. You're on show, son. Matariki.
Tēnā koe te tiamana, tēnā koe te pāpā. I will take the report as read. This report is actually to give a bit of an update and highlights on what we're doing for 2023, a representation of our new year of Matariki. We have 2 events going on this year. Where we have the hautapu, which is led by Te Rangi from Ngāti Kahungunu Iwi Incorporated, however has been financially assisted by Napier City Council, and also been supported by Mana Ahuriri and other people around the rohe. And then we have also our Matariki Light Show, which will be for 2 nights next week on the 7th and the 8th of July, which will be held in town. So this report is actually just to receive the report. It's titled as Matariki 23, sorry. And just also to enlighten to this is that as this is our 2nd year that the current government had made our year a statutory holiday. Things are still brand new. Even within our own people, Matariki is a new concept, and we're really wanting to build on it yearly to educate our people in ngā iwi katoa. So that's the content towards what we are doing right now. Any questions? The hautapu is on the morning of the 13th of July, which will be beside the aquarium. Last year we had it up in Mataruahau. It was actually quite a beautiful time, and what happened. However, my only take is that we couldn't see Matariki. We couldn't see her in the sky, so we moved it down to the aquarium, and it was actually investigated by, it was scouted by Te Rangi & Co. We felt it was actually a really nice place to have it. Plenty of car parking, able to hold a mass of people. Also, you could be able to see Matariki, which is the most important part. And we just felt that was a good place to actually have it. So that'll be on the 13th of July.
Any comments, any questions?
Ai te atu hāpara nei I whakarite rāta I te hautapu.
Oi?
Ka hara te rā tako tēnei ropu.
E whai atu ki te rōpū o Ngāti Kahungunu Iwi Incorporated, Te Rangi mā. But mā tau, nā mana whenua I konei, nā tangata whanua I konei.
Hanga rere ke kōtei tēnei me te āti o Te Rangi.
Kore kau.
Just wondering why they're doing hautapu and everyone's doing it, but there's not a collaborative effort in doing this stuff. Because hautapu was done this morning too. I'm not too sure which group did that.
So,
Te āti o Te Rangi.
yeah. So there was, I
What's
thought,
the reasoning why we're not doing it together?
so the Aotea Rangi, there's only a maximum of people you can have down there because of car parking and the mass of people, whereas our thinking is to grow this and have an area where we can actually have where many are. So, and there's actually thoughts about having many, like as we go per year, there'll be other hautapu and increasing that by marae whānau, they can hold their own.
Any comment? Any further comment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just a question around how the rollout of the invitation and sort of the public communication of it is going to go. And also, is there an intention to invite all the elected members and NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA to flip that through as an invite at some stage?
Josh is not here, but I thought the invite has already gone through. Okay, so I'll get that cleared up. The main media releases come through Ngāti Kahungunu, Iwi Incorporated. However, we've actually tagged it onto our media release as well, and also through our website. And it's only just been done this week.
Awesome. And a bit of Facebook.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Any other? Okay. We have a mover to receive the report, please. Thank you. Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Nomination of appointed member to be member of Sustainable Napier and future Napier committees.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will take the paper as read. It's a return to an issue we discussed at the previous meeting, where the committee is to nominate a member to sit on two of the standing committees of council. Unfortunately, the previous nomination isn't able to take that up, so we now need to find a new nominee for the Sustainable Napier and Future Napier committees. And as noted in the paper, those two committees sit on the same day, so it makes sense to have the same nominee for both committees. And once this committee makes a nomination, that nomination will then go to...
Can I just ask you to speak into the...
All right. And once there is a nomination, it will go to the council meeting on the 20th of July and will apply from then onwards. So the key requirement here is for a nominee.
Are we looking for a nominee?
We are.
Do we have any off the floor?
Yeah, so just for that one there, I wasn't at the last meeting that we had, so I
sorry.
was away. But meeting prior to that, I was nominated on Prosperous Napier on two committees, along with Joe, who was on the auditor committee.
Yes.
So
So you're on the people and places and prosperous committees. So that nomination went through to council and was approved. Yep. So you're on those committees. So that's all good. So we just need one more person for the Sustainable Napier and the Future Napier committees.
Kia ora. I was the one who sort of called in and said, oh, look, I won't have the time to be able to commit to, especially seeing all the different workshops you have to go to, and also represent Mana Ahuriri on the Hastings District Council one. So it's a lot of mahi and a lot of time to be there, and I was not able to give my best to be able to turn up to all those. So I just want to acknowledge that person was me that rung up, and just in the future it might be good to talk about when these committees are prior to the meeting, what the level of engagement and things are, so that when people are nominated, they understand that level of commitment. Just to be really clear on that in the future, because as mana whenua, especially we're engaged in many kaupapa now with different councils and all sorts of organisations. So we just need to be clear so that we can do a good job when we are on these subcommittees and committees as well. But just want to yeah, let you know that that person was me who stepped off there. Kia ora.
Thank you, Tipene.
And Mr Chair, if I just may add, we've already had one meeting of the Sustainable Napier, and Coralie attended that one. Unfortunately, she's not here today. I thought she might have given some insight on how that went. But yeah.
No.
Through you, Mr Chair, if it's helpful, both the Chair of Sustainable Napier and Future Napier are here. Perhaps we could just share a little bit about what our
Great.
committees do, if that works for you.
Yes, it would.
Happy to go first, so I'm not throwing Councillor Price under the bus too quickly. So the Future Napier Committee is the committee that I chair and deputy chair with Councillor Rhonda Crystal. You could kind of categorise it, I suppose, as a regulatory committee. So it deals with a lot of the legislative aspects of council. So we have our district plan, our resource consenting, our building consenting teams. We have some of our major projects teams as well sitting under that directorate. Climate change is also one of the kaupapa that's discussed at the Future Napier Committee, but it encompasses a lot of those strategic planning and legislative tools that sort of set council up, bylaws, that sort of thing as well. So that's just a little bit about what the Future Napier Committee covers. Kia ora.
Okay, Sustainable Napier is the biggest committee and gets the most work. Basically, it's infrastructure, and it's outlined in the report where transport assets, three waters, waste management, building assets, parks, reserves, sports grounds, cemeteries, and the inner harbour. So
A big one.
it is a big one. But I can say from talking to Coralie after it, she was very, very nervous and felt really good afterwards. She introduced herself at the Deputy Mayor's committee meeting, and I think she feels, even though she's not here today, feels as though she can offer a lot and enjoyed it. And I just want to, Tiffany, you can't change your mind? No pressure.
Kia ora. I did speak to Councillor Brosnan at our marae the other week. I just feel I can contribute a lot more not being in there, being outside of it, and giving my ideas as opposed to turning up to all those meetings. So yeah, no, sorry.
You don't know until you ask, do you? So thank you.
So where does Coralie sit at the moment with that?
She's on Sustainable Napier and
And Future Napier.
Future Napier.
Right.
And so she's settled in. She's had a meeting of both
Yeah.
and got a feel for it now. So, which I think the first meeting is probably the hardest because you go in there with no idea really,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not as scary as what some people think.
And through you, Mr Chair, just another note for members to consider is that Council has this term past full voting rights for members who sit at these committees, and the committees have also been given additional delegations by Her Worship the Mayor to make decisions at committee level. So you really are in a position where you can influence decisions of Council at that committee level now. So it does have a lot of mana, that voting right.
Do you want time to have a think about that, Tipene?
Kia ora. I've had a lot of time to think about it. I'm pretty all good. I'd rather someone who can make the time and commit to it be there. It'll help with their decision making. And I just feel if I can't make that time and commit, that's not going to be very helpful for that committee. So politely decline.
Mr Chair, if I could also add that the committees meet every 6 weeks, so it's on a 6-weekly cycle.
Right.
Through the chair, can I suggest that if we're not going to have nomination forthcoming today, we could just lay this on the table and give committee members an opportunity to consider this before our next meeting?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll do that, I think. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Thank you. Sounds like an interesting committee, that one, eh?
I'm just before you vacate that, I'm just wondering whether, because you got to find a solution. eh?
Are you volunteering?
No. I just got to find a solution, and the solution for me is that we are part of, like myself and Keith, we sit on the board of trustees for this marae. Is there a possibility that we could nominate someone to go on there from our trust or something like that? Do we need to sit on it? Because honestly, as you obviously know that, most of us are very, very busy in the coronation streets of the world or whatever. We know that, eh? But you need someone there to focus. I have some very good people amongst our board of trustees that probably need to be fostered along or looked after so they can understand the idiosyncrasies of that type of work and where they can lend their knowledge. That's probably where I think our solution could be, because I know that these people are very, very busy, and you need people on those committees. So I'm just sort of throwing that in. What do you guys think? Is there a possibility, or do we have to change the standing orders?
So, Mr Chair, that would require a change to the terms of reference, because the terms of reference do require that the person that's nominated is one of the
Yes, but the terms
appointed.
of reference should be solution-focused.
Yeah, and we're not saying that we couldn't change
No,
the terms
no,
of reference,
no.
but it would,
That's
needs,
the process that would
and
need
the
to go
process
through.
around that would be for the terms of reference needing to go back to full council for them to endorse and
Yes.
adopt the change. So that could certainly happen, and I appreciate you coming up with an alternative that I believe could absolutely work if council were of a mind to change those terms of a reference to allow that. We just need to work through the process to do that.
Yes.
And I guess by laying the paper on the table today, that provides us with the opportunity to consider a change
Yes.
of the terms of reference, or also for an existing committee member of NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA IWI to perhaps decide that they would like to accept a nomination as well. It just gives us some breathing space to find a solution.
Hey, good girl.
I don't think it'll take, I think it's a good idea we take some breathing space and make sure we get the person that we're looking for. Joseph, do you have anything you want to add to that? Is he on? No, I think we'll leave it there. I think we'll leave that one there at the table, and take the time to consider our options. Yes, did you want to say something, Tiffany?
Oh, Carl.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, are you running that? Keith?
Yes.
Are you running it?
Yeah, and you've got
Put
a
me on
torrid
it.
time coming up for
Yeah.
yourself.
Put me on it, all right? Don't
On
muck around.
sustainable,
Yeah.
so are you saying you'll come on them?
You said every 6 weeks,
Yeah.
eh? Yeah.
So you'll be on both committees.
If you want him, you've got to have me as well.
Well, when he talked of solutions, can I speak?
Yes, please.
I did look at him and he wouldn't look back at me. But I felt we were close to a solution, but if he wants a bit of time talking to me over the next few weeks, that's all right. But
Oh.
I think we've worked together and I think it'd be a good thing
It's
for
going
you
to
to
cost
come
you a
on.
few coffees, all right?
Yep. So you're coming on?
You know my workload, Keith. Hey.
Yep.
And it, you know that, eh? So,
I think you should take the time to talk. Hey,
we'll have some coffees.
We have a cuppa.
so we'll leave things on the table the way they are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
What are you doing, Jackie? The Waters Project, the Waters Project?
She's operational. She can't.
Shush, shush you.
She's operational.
Ana whina, amai.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, kia ora.
I'm Phil Kelson, the Acting Manager Water Strategy, and I've brought Cam along because he might be able to help answer some questions. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, tēnā koutou everyone. Whānau mai Oki Akiriri. I tutu Aki Oki Akiriri. Kei Akiriri.
Can you direct yourself?
Kei Akiriri ahau no hoana. Kei strategy planning ahau I mahi ana. Ko Cameron Drury, te ingoa. Tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora.
So I'm a planner with strategy planning based in Hawke's Bay, and happy to be involved in a lot of the Three Waters infrastructure project for Napier City Council. Just here to help Phil and answer any questions that you may have.
So on that note, we just want move that the committee receive the Three Waters project brief report as read. I don't really want to read through it or go over it, but my preference is if you have any questions to fire them at us, and
Sure.
we can do our best to answer.
Sure. Do we have any questions? Oh, thank you.
Kia ora, through the chair. With the wastewater treatment plant restoration, I know that we were heading towards another major milestone in July with the BTFs due to go, or at least one of them due to go back online. Are we still on track to hit that milestone?
Yes, through the chair. The really good news, we're a little bit ahead of schedule and at the stage planning to be starting the commissioning of the BTF, the first BTF on Monday. So,
Oh, wow.
it's a little bit ahead of where we plan to be, and it's really good news. I think it's expected to take about 2 weeks for the bacteria to be seeded and up and running, but that's really good news, and the first BTF will be followed straight away by the second BTF, so yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic news. Thanks, Philip. And just for the benefit of committee members who may not understand what the BTF actually does, could you just give a little bit of a summary as to what that part of the plant does?
Sure, yeah, through the chair. The BTFs are the big concrete tanks with the silver domes. What happens is the screened wastewater is distributed over the top of some structured media, so and as it trickles down, the bacteria that grow in there use up the nutrients in the waste, and basically reduce the load of nutrient on the outfall. So the stuff that gets pumped out to sea is a lot of the nutrients used up by the bacteria in the process.
So just for those of us like me who, it sanitises, further sanitises the waste, doesn't it, before it's being discharged into the ocean?
That's correct.
Thank you.
It makes it cleaner.
Any questions? Anyone got any questions, comments? Oh, sorry.
Kia ora, Piri, thank you. Couple of questions. One on the Mataruaho project. So that is going to be quite a significant project for the city, and is obviously a site that is really significant. Just wondering if you could talk us through what the process for design input might be with this committee. Will there be an opportunity to be involved? Thank you.
Through the chair, yeah, I think I'll let Cam talk to that a little bit. He's probably got some better words.
Yeah, no, thank you. So that project it's in its infancy, which is a great time to be coming and introducing it, obviously. But what's been happening currently is a lot of groundwork to understand the geotechnical side of things, understanding, I guess, the size of the site, how it can be managed to accommodate the reservoirs, whether that is 2 or 3, because it's a little bit of a scenario analysis. But the idea is once, I guess, the understanding of the ground is known and there is direction of where the concept's going, then that's the point where the design side will sort of come into play. And Council is very mindful that, yes, it's a water reservoir site, but it's also, as you acknowledge, it's a very public site. There's a lot of value to it. There's the ability to really look to integrate it with botanical gardens alongside. So quite a comprehensive design process will be commenced. There will be urban design and landscape inputs brought in very shortly, and it's when that process kicks off that absolutely the intent is to involve Mataranga Māori and design in that process as well, but it's just not quite at that point of kicking off into that design part yet. The project's been socialised with Mana Akiriri in particular, so that was with Paris Greening, Peter Eden, Marie Brown, and Joe as well. So that was a couple of weeks ago, and so yeah, that's been introduced, and the action was to basically complete that groundwork knowledge and then come back to the table.
Kia ora, thank you.
Any other comments?
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Through the chair. As we're being hosted today by our wonderful Puki Muki Muki Maraea, there is a project which I think is going to be particularly relevant for this local community of Maraenui, which is the IAF Maraenui and Te Awa stormwater drainage improvements, and particularly in light of our recent weather events that we've been experiencing throughout the city. So I note that it is very much in the early stages at the moment, and it is going to be a significant project to improve stormwater for these communities. So just wondering if we could just have a little bit of a summary around sort of the timeframes and how the project is going to roll out over the future.
Yep. So yeah, again, very, very early. So the project team was established probably only a month or so ago. So the design consultants involved in that are a company called PDP, and then Strategy is leading the planning side. There'll be other people that will come on board, of course. But essentially, that project comprises 3 projects, and it's essentially looking at changing the direction that stormwater flows. So rather than stormwater from that sort of western side of Willowbank, that part of Maraenui, draining into the Harakeke stream and then sort of trying to get all the way over to the other side of Napier. The idea is to actually tip it around the other way and bring it through the Te Awa area. So that is intended to help drain that area quicker. So that's going to reduce potential flood levels and so on. So what's involved in that is developing new urban streams, looking at trying to integrate in-stream treatment, bringing that runoff into the existing Serpentine Pond, which is the stormwater attenuation pond within the Te Awa subdivision, installing the pump station, which was always anticipated as part of that structure plan process. That'll be somewhere along Te Awa Avenue, and then very much like the cross-county drain, basically have that stormwater pumped underneath Te Awa, under the railway, under the state highway, and then onto the coastal berm. So a lot of design involved. It's very, very flat. It's incredibly flat. So bringing stormwater and draining it is very challenging. But that's what the designers are looking into now. Multiple, I guess, planning processes involved. And then again, much like the Mataruaho project, once we understand the alignments and all of the sort of fundamentals that go into designing that type of system, then there'll be a broader design process, particularly in regard to the actual coastal berm outlets and so on. So you'll be aware that that the outlet structures for the cross-country drain are more sort of artistic pieces of infrastructure than just a standard outlet. So already we're thinking that there's potential to really focus on the look and feel of things as well as the actual drainage function.
Kia ora, and do we have currently sort of an estimated timeline?
Time frame? Not yet. So we're currently just over the next couple of months just working out what the planning process is. The engineers are developing their knowledge around grade and just where different drainage challenges might lie. But the idea is that we'll then kind of come back and in the next sort of 1 to 2 months compare notes, and then at that point we start to kick off the concept design. But we've got to make a plan around what that process looks like, who's going to get involved, and develop a project plan from that point. So,
Ngā mihi.
Any other questions? Yeah, sure.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just thought with the opportunity that Cam is here on the report, there is a brief update on the Lagoon Farm project, which is something that I'm particularly passionate about, and I just wondered if we could hear a little bit about how that work is progressing, and maybe just an opportunity to note for the committee that Cam has through another piece of work just been appointed as the project manager to our Ahuriri Regional Park project as well, which links in with that Lagoon Farm project. So just an opportunity maybe to brief the committee. It may not have been something the committee's talked about before.
yeah, certainly. So the Ahuriri Regional Park project is situated, I guess, on Napier City Council farm between Prippenson Drive and the estuary. So the high-level drivers behind that project is to look at resilience, with the focus being to use that piece of land for stormwater treatment, stormwater attenuation to again be part of the solution to reducing potential flood levels within urban Napier, as well as looking at increasing ecological value of that area. Really showcasing, or using the project as a vehicle to really showcase the cultural history of that broader area, as well as build on the existing recreational values in the area as well. So a very large, very integrated project with a lot of potential positive outcomes. One aspect to feed into that broader project is the Lagoon Farm stormwater analysis. So that piece of work commenced probably about 6 or 7 months ago now, and the purpose was to begin to really understand how that site could be used to store and treat stormwater. A big focus of it was to, I guess, look at any potential obstacles, and once they were identified, look to understand those, and of course look to apply solutions to enable the drivers of the regional park to be achieved. So Becca was engaged to undertake, I guess, that hard engineering analysis. So they're in the process of reporting on that, and then from there there'll be actions that will fall out, which will need to be focused on to inform the master planning process for the regional park. So I don't think the analysis has been reported on yet, but it's sort of 95% there. So yeah, looking forward to understanding what needs to be thought of.
Great. Any further comment? Have a mover, please, to receive the report. Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. All in favour, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Kia ora.
Updates from the committee reps. Perhaps we could start with Councillor Price, please. and work our way around.
You got me here a bit. Basically, Sustainable Napier's last meeting, we really covered the points you just covered. It was information papers. That was a good rundown that all the guys have just given, because they've actually probably advanced a little bit on what our last meeting was, which is interesting on the stormwater avenue for the regional park. But it's just basically what's on the paper.
Evelyn.
Kia ora tātou. In the absence of Diana, speaking on behalf of Tāngoi o Marae, I just want to report, 5 months on now with Tāngoi as far as our marae sits. Work still continues today. We have secured buildings that we can, all our carvings and things, our whare nui has been put to sleep. We're in the process of transferring all our taonga, our carvings, tukutuku panels and our kōwhaiwhai to this other location where they could be worked on and maintained. We have got a few tukutuku panels that have to be totally replaced, that can't be repaired. Our carvings are being restored to the best that they can be. So in that process, we had a karakia to put them to sleep, and we're going to move them on till such time we can locate another place to rebuild. Our 2 buildings are still standing. There's Tangitu and Maungahararu, our 2 whare moe and our whare kai are still there, but they have to come down. So until the insurances and things have been complete, we can complete that process. But all the whenua and that surrounding that has still been worked on, getting rid of all the silt, and Woodie's employed about 10 to 12 or 12, 14 people around and within the Tāngoi district to help keep them in work and do that, but to work on their own whenua and around the marae. When that's complete, they can go to Arapanui and help clear that whenua up there. Our urupās have been just revamped, and the fence has been done, all the new areas been cleaned up. Not too much damage had been done in our urupās, so they're fine. We're going to have our own matariki on the 2nd of July. On the Sunday, we're going to have it out at Tāngoi Beach, just down by Whakaari. So, come back to our whakatauki, ko rātou pā kei ngā rekereke. At the moment, we're homeless, but our pās are still on the heels of our feet. And we are still here to work around that. So a lot of work's been done around Tāngoi o Marae. Coming back to mana ahuriri for our maraes, for the long-term planning things we have for Napier. One of the concerns was how to engage with our marae. So just listening on our hui yesterday, I didn't have a lot of input in there, but just listening and hearing the needs, how we can engage better. I think at this level here is an avenue where we can have say and input into the long-term plan for Napier. And if we can do that around our own tables and prepare something to put forward to councils to have it implemented into the long-term plan, I think this is a good place to come. So I'll take my guidance from you.
Kia ora.
Yeah. Kia ora.
Thank you. You're on show, Rose.
Kia ora ngā mihi koutou katoa. At Petane, we're actually in some conversations about us being in Category 3 as our marae and our whānau actually don't want to leave because that place holds our whakapapa. And not to be able to move away from our takiwā. There's actually, with the state that the East Valley's in, there's really nowhere to try and find a place for us that we take our history. We don't want to leave out what our tipunas have put in place for us. We're just trying to see how do we go about this movement within being in Category 3. And I think a lot of issues around that space is because we're pretty much in the same area as a lot of other people, and just the minor hairline of a fence makes you in Category 2. And we're trying to see why is that. And those are some of the issues that we're actually trying to take on board. And we're trying to see, well, our people don't want to really leave our marae. We're still in the process of our marai's all clean within our boundaries. Our urupā is still in a state that has to be cleaned up and fenced. But we also, you know, to leave our tipuna there and walk away from them is just not what we do as Māori. And so that's an issue for our people at Petani Marae. But I think what you look at is you look at the devastation around our area, Petani. We had to do a lot of work ourselves, like everybody, because we always felt that we were off the sort of beaten track. We understood that Estelle, Tairāwhiti, all of those places were just as bad as us, and the government and the councils did all that work there, but we were all happy to be part of the mahi around our marae. So for us, that's where we're sitting. We hope that there can be some changes for us to be able to say you can stay, safety mechanisms put in place, and that we can try and mitigate some of the risks around us that for flooding, because we're not sure if it's going to come again. When, it's just a matter of when. So we're just going through all those sort of scenarios at our marae about really wanting to stay. And we know that everybody sort of looks and say, but you're in Category 3. And yes, we are. But our heart's not in Category 3. It's in our whakapapa, our history. And that's where we're sitting at the moment, of trying to get a place for us to be. And it's not anywhere else, I'm sorry to say. So kia ora.
Thank you, Rose. Maureen, please.
Kia ora koutou. At Mōtio Marae, we were flooded during the cyclone. Because we weren't insured, we were totally reliant on any funding that we could get. And as the funding came in, we were able to prioritise the things that needed doing first. We had no water, so we found out that we had to replace the septic tank system because it was filled up with silt and it was put in the too hard basket, so we decided to actually replace the whole thing. So we've done that. The next lot of funding that came in, we had to fix the pump because when we went to test the septic tank system to get our toilets to go, there was no water. So then we got the water pump fixed, and that was all done, and then we had no power. So the cable had broken, or it wouldn't go. So we had Unison come in, and we have now got water, fingers crossed. That was last week. So after all those months, we now have got power and water.
Great.
We had to replace all the jibbing, so that's all been done. We've painted it. We've had to replace all the wiring, especially the wiring along the bottom, because it was flooded. So we've raised it all up so that if it happens again, it's not going to get damaged. The kitchen had to be completely gutted because there was silt all packed in behind the cupboards and everywhere. So that's our next big project, is to refit the kitchen. The grounds need filling in because of the ruts from the heavy machinery. But we're working our way through it. at the end of September, we're holding a community sports event for kaumātua through to Mokopuna. So that's on 30th of September. Just one concern from the community, mainly whānau who have been displaced in Dartmoor. They made a comment about they still removing silt and stuff from their homes, and they were concerned that the last free they had to pay to take their rubbish to the Redcliffe transfer station, and this weekend is the last chance that they had for it to be free. And they asked if there was a possibility of having some sort of ID so that those who have been displaced will still get that free. They wouldn't have to pay to take their stuff to the transfer station. So that was one concern of them, because they're still clearing out their properties. And so, yeah, that's on me, and
Thank you,
moving
Maureen.
on and onwards.
Kia
Kia ora.
ora.
Sorry, yeah, through the chair, just on the transfer station, yeah, that I've just found out that yesterday that was coming to the end because of the end of the financial year. So we are looking at working at how to continue that process going forward, because recognising that people are still only just getting to their houses now. So,
Yes.
yeah, no, so, yep.
Kia ora.
Andy.
Kia ora, through you, Mr Chair. A couple of updates from the Future Napier Directorate. So we've been working, if we look at our last committee meeting, we had some really good updates across the Directorate covering the Ahuriri Regional Park that we heard a little bit from Cam before. Had an update on the district plan, which is planning to be notified in September this year. So that's quite a big step change for all of the rules for people doing building and development in Napier, and there's quite a number of significant changes planned to be notified in September. Also had an update on the future development strategy, which is a document that's replacing HBUDs, which is kind of your agreement between Napier and Hastings across the plains around how development will occur. So that's progressing well. We had the Regional Economic Development Agency come and talk to us. You might be aware councils agreed to fund that in 2021, and it's a non-council controlled organisation with equal shareholding of iwi hapu business and councils. So they came and presented to us, and they're in the final stages of setting that up. They now have a chief executive and a board, so they're getting ready to roll. We had a little bit of an update that members might be aware. We had the Future for Local Government recommendations released last week. So that includes a range of recommendations really relevant to local government. Of particular interest is that they're proposing a different way of funding councils that would receive a lot more government support. As you're aware now, our mechanisms for funding is really rates heavy, and so looking at a redistribution potentially of some of the other tax income. So that was quite exciting for us to see an openness to fund local government differently in those recommendations. So I would encourage you guys to have a look through that. Just noting that I have the Te Committee Te Muruai o Te Whanga meeting coming up, and so that will be reported back as well, an update on that, which is chaired by Mana Ahuriri. Tanya Eden is the chair of that, so that's coming up next Wednesday. And I also we have had one wānanga and have our second wānanga planned this week coming on our library and civic project. And I have, through you, Mr Chair, Darren Gillis here, who would be interested in just giving us a quick update on where that project sits, if that works for you.
Great, please.
Morena tātou, ko Barrack Law Tamanga, ko Tain Te Awa no Alba aho, ko Gillis toka whanua, ko Darren toka ingawa. Morena tātou. I'm going to give an update about the civic precinct project, basically because I think it's one of the most exciting things around, and I think it would be of interest to this committee, and also because there's a couple of members on this committee who are part of, I think, a really important kaupapa. So we are now in what we call concept design stage for our civic precinct, which is where the architects start to put lines on the paper. So we start to take the ideas from all of the kōrero that we've had to date and start to see what this might actually look like in reality. And we kicked it off at Wānanga Zero at Whairangi Marae, on which we were very blessed to be welcomed onto. And thank you, Tiffany, for hosting that particular kaupapa. And it was a great opportunity to really build on where we had come from today and then to start to talk about how this process will go for the next series of wānanga, which will take us through to the 17th of August, when all of Council will come to see where we've got to. We now have our architects on board, but we also have our mana whenua design lead, which is the first time we've done that with a project of this ilk before. We're really going for full co-design as much as we possibly can. We also have our project managers and our QS who look after our costings on this particular project as well. And we hopefully get that through this kind of concept stage to get approved by Council by the 12th of October, and then we'll move on to the more detailed elements of our design process, which is preliminary design, developed design, and then on to detailed design when the resourcing consent process starts, and also when we start our procurement around getting our construction firms lined up to get this built. And I wondered if our Pōwhakarai wanted to give us a sneak preview of the name for this project that we're kind of starting to form, and where it was discussed at Wānanga Zero.
Tēnā koe, Darren. So before this time, the name of the project was LCAP, which was Library.
It's the Library Civic Multifunctional Facility on Station Street, the current working title.
So one of our hui that we had, and just listening to all the kōrero going around, and it just popped into my head, and I gave the name Te Aka, to reaching for the, as we talk about the mythology of, Tāwhaki or Tāne Mahuta going up to the heavens to get the three baskets of knowledge. So that's part of the library, the wāhi mātauranga, and about us all aspiring up to go to the rightful place to gain all that knowledge. So I'm just giving a bit of a short thing there, but that was the name that came through, and it was implemented in our Wānanga Zero. Yeah, kia ora.
And that will be discussed more at Wānanga 1 at this very marae this coming Tuesday, and what the process of that name will take throughout the rest of this project. Happy to take any questions.
Any comment? Questions? Thank you. Yeah.
Kia ora, thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Does the governance advise who's the hardest worker in the place?
Thank you.
Kia koe, Māori.
Oh, okay.
Update from the Whakarai. Oh, we'll just keep going around the table, will we? Keep it simple.
Kia ora tātou. So Te Waka Rangapū, we haven't stopped, and it's just getting a lot of more mahis coming on board, and just trying to deal with the smallest team. But I'd like to introduce our newest member to the team, Jackie. Oh, can you stand up, please? Oh, sorry, you are standing. Sorry. Nah. I don't have mine. So Jackie's started with us on Monday, and it's our 5th day, and we've already think that she's all part of the furniture already. And just having a lot of laughs, which is what we want to have. So it's really great to have Jackie on board. And because of this, I'm having a bit of a reset with Te Waka Rangapū. We're going to have a wānanga at the end of beginning of August. We'll go away and start planning for the 23-24, what we're going to do, what do we want to achieve, and what we're going to action within the next 12 months. But in the meantime, part of the recovery team, looking at recovery within council, part of the Napier Safe, there's a lot of issues going around our city at the moment. Rachel over here is our chair for the Napier Safe, and at the moment we've actually been discussing a lot about the fences being painted with the Mongo mob and how it's been done. So we've actually left it with the police to deal with. It's a too hard basket for all of us, so we really need to have the police to deal with it if they need to. So, yeah, and this with all the, but domestic violence has actually gone down. There's a lot of input about domestic violence going down. So there's actually some really positive notes that we've had from the police on that. So that's a really good area to think about, really. I'm going to leave our worship with the War Memorial opening, but I have made sure that the Kaiakwe Tiwana and Papapari to be on our list for the blessing at the War Memorial, but I'm leaving that with our Mia and Uncle Hami. Ocean Spa redevelopment, that's just started to kick off, and so Hillary is leading that on behalf of Te Whakarangapu, and there's a lot of work that's going to be there. They really want to have a real sense of cultural mana whenua stories going through all that, so we're going to start that, we've just started that now, that whole process. So we'll have a team once again like with Darren. And with the Taka project that we just initiated, it's a really good template that we've got with co-governance, and it's really a positive way for us to go, and we're doing that with the Ocean Spa as well, so watch this space. So with our planning for the next wānanga, for the next 12 months, we're looking, I've started in-house tikana and kawa wānanga with all our staff, so pretty one-on-one stuff, but going through the whole process. What is tikana? What is kawa? What is tapu? What is noa? Just going through all that and going through the high-level stuff and why we do things and how we do it on the marae. What's the importance of pohiri and all that kind of stuff. Jackie doesn't know this right now because she's just started, but she'll be on the Reo Rua strategy going forward with Te Tai Whenua. Well, have we spoken about that? Anyway, and also just increasing our cultural capability inside. So we've actually teamed up with our people and capabilities group, and we're going to really start kicking off on how we're going to increase the cultural capability in council, really pushing it forward. And it's actually just, as I say that too, I'd like to acknowledge our mayor and our CE because they really are supporting this kaupapa going forward. And yeah, at least we don't get told not to do karakia in a community meeting. Oh, sorry, did I go there? Anyway, just other things that we've got is Te Kupinga, our group that we all belong to. We are doing a lot of meetings at the moment, especially around our recovery, looking at a regional approach. Myself are doing a lot of regional meetings and dealing with that as a collective. We're also starting to work on our Tuiki o Te Reo. That's going to be another week that we really want to enhance. So watch the space. We will probably get you to come down to do our quiz. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. Yeah.
Any questions, anyone? Thank you, Madam Mayor, please.
Kia ora. So Council has a number of things underway within our work program at the moment. Probably some of the top priorities are we will be starting work on our 2024 through to 2034 long-term plan in the very, very near future. In fact, we really have already. Elected members had a couple of days away last month to actually do some work on our strategic priorities as a council, which was then handed across to our senior management team, and they've been teasing that out and doing some more thinking around what actually those priorities mean and what the outcomes we're trying to achieve and the measurables against that. So we actually had 2 workshops yesterday, and Evelyn and Joe were a part of that as committee members on Prosperous Napier and the other committees that they represent. So it was great to have their input. But yeah, we're really excited about the opportunities that the long-term plan represent for us. There's a lot of challenges in local government on the horizon, and this process is really going to be a deep dive and looking at the way that we operate to ensure that we are creating a sustainable and resilient council and serving our community as best as we can. And I guess that segues into just some further comments on the future of local government, which the Deputy Mayor raised. It's interesting because here in New Zealand, we are quite, I guess would say, out of step with the rest of the world, in that local government in other parts of the developed world are responsible for almost half of all public spending, whereas here in New Zealand it's less than 10%. And when you consider what we're responsible for, Councillor Price outlined what his directorate alone is responsible for earlier in the meeting, to be getting less than 10% of the tax take to be providing all these services for our community is just not sustainable. So the 17 recommendations that came through from the independent panel who released this report, yes, as Deputy Mayor said, there was some great recommendations around new funding and financing tools, which are well overdue. There were some other really good recommendations around changing the Local Government Act to explicitly recognise local government as a treaty partner and just ensuring that there is better ways of fostering our partnership with our treaty partners, and also looking at some different structures and tools to rebuild trust and confidence in local democracy, because I think that's taken a bit of a hiding in recent years. So it was a really positive report, and the next step is for local government to provide feedback back to the Crown as to our thoughts on the recommendations, and then of course it all comes down to actually implementation. So watch this space in terms of what's happening there. In terms of reforms as well, there's a next step in the Three Waters reforms. They are now open for submissions on the new bill. You may be aware that the new bill has made some significant changes, particularly in terms of the entities. There's now 10 entities, which we are part of Entity F, and that is the 4 Hawke's Bay councils plus Tairāwhiti. So a huge improvement on the previous proposal where we were one of 21 councils. So it has addressed some of our concerns, but it would be fair to say it hasn't addressed all of them. We do have ongoing concerns about some of the underlying assumptions that were made, particularly around the level of investment required and the cost savings that central government seem to think they'll be able to achieve in these new entities, upwards of 50%, which, you know, as an accountant by trade, cost savings through efficiencies of upwards of 50% are just not realistic. There's still some concerns around the ownership structure that's proposed and the lack of public accountability. And there's also been a real lack of consideration of alternative reform options. So we will be preparing a submission which will both acknowledge the positive changes that have been made, but also highlight our ongoing concerns. And I think we only have until the end of next week to get that in. So staff will be under the pump to get that prepared. And I guess really the recovery work, of course, continues, and just wanting to acknowledge all of the mahi that's being done by our marae to you know, restore and repair your whenua. And you know, I know it's been an incredibly difficult time for you all. We do have our recovery team here who are going to be giving an update after the close of the meeting, so I'll leave it to them to provide some additional details there. And I will just close out with, as Morihu has said, we have, after a very long road, reached the point where we will be opening our War Memorial restoration on the 6th of August. So it's going to be a very, very special day, and it will commence with a blessing at 6 a.m, followed on by a whole of community opening from 9 a.m, of which will be open to everybody in our Ahuriri community. So we're really excited about that, and obviously would love to see members of this committee along if they are able to make it, and get to come and experience all the hard mahi that's been put into ensuring that we restore our war memorial in a respectful way and honour our fallen. So that's it from me.
Thank you. Any comment, please?
What date?
6th of August, it's a Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
We
You
have
will
a couple
receive,
team already.
you will receive a formal invitation as well.
Joe, can I ask if you'd like to make some comment, please?
Ka moe pia.
Perhaps we'll move on for now. Do you want to?
Oh. I got this irehu. Those who awake live in constant amazement. It was done by my chipuna and Pahawera. His name was Socrates. Bueno, if you have a look up there, our Nanny Marge, when she did the chuku panels, you'll see those things that look like a blue and then it looks like a robot in it. That's Ahuriri, and those are the gas lamps. They look like the robots, those blue things. And the kōwhaiwhai is the umbilical cord. So you have a look, and it's on both sides. You have a look over there and over there. Hey. You fellows doing the water and that, she implemented that in her chuku panel up there. And you can see it, eh? It provides balance because that's talking about the council. Okay? In between those things, the trees on the Marine Parade. To give you an idea of what she was thinking in terms of the relationship that this marae has to the council. This is not a council marae, this is a marae for the people. The council is part of the support team for the people. That's how we sort of think. And this marae, there are 4 marae. Te Aro Tāwhaki, Poho o Tangia Nui, which is Baden Bat, well as know that. Nani Hana's marae, down Lowry Crescent, and this marae. We're not linked to Te Whanganui Aorotu, that's okay. We're also not linked to Ngāti Kahungunu in terms of sitting at the tables. It doesn't mean to say that we're not related. Hey, we don't have to sit at the tables to look after our people. All we have to do is just go and do our stuff. Hey. So when Cyclone Gabrielle hit, unfortunately, our traditional marae got flooded. Yeah. And alarms went up, and we turned this into a distribution centre. This place here and that Whare Kai was full up with taonga 6 times. Yeah. If anything, the nation came to Ahuriri. Yeah. We had people coming from everywhere, and clothes and food coming from everywhere. That was brilliant because myself and Piri, when we were doing this stuff, was all about manaaki. Yeah? And so we carry on. We've had almost 800,000 people on this marae. Okay? 800,000. We only have a small group, and the fellow over there is on the Board of Trustees scheme. Okay? So we work together. Hey, it's a collaboration. That's what I say. Those who are awake live in constant amazement. There is mamai everywhere. Our whānau from Tāngueo, I think on the 6th of August, they're going to have a hui here. And all those other marae that need a hui, they can come over here and have their hui. Hey. So we've had heaps of people here. We still have a lot of people. The Wānanga Aotearoa uses it, the schools use it. We had early childhood here. They did all the skid marks at the back because I don't think they realised that during the weekend it was raining. So what did they do? They park on the grass and they got stuck. So at the back it's pretty muddy. So where do we see ourselves? I think we see ourselves as part of what we can do and support our people in our community. Simple as that. Pretty simple. And all marae are like that. It's really cool to have NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA in here discussing and finding a pathway and future-proofing. We have some ideas that we're going to do because of the floods and that. You have to look at having a place where you can have some stuff stored in a some sort of thing. So we're going to stick another one of those things on top of, I think because we haven't got a hill, hey, in case it floods, and we'll just tie it down. Hey Keith, you're going to tie it down. And then we can put all our stuff in there because we ain't got a hill. Hey. So you've got to think for solutions all the time. And I think NGA MANUKANUKA is about that. Right? Is bringing cultural practices to the front to give quality. Hence the reason why those fellows from the water come over here and they talk to us about stuff. Yes, and I listen to what they're talking about, and I go, well, is that the right way of doing it, or do we need to go and talk to them about it? Pai ki au tēnei. I think what will support us is maybe Ms. Jackie Ham putting some earmuffs on this lot when we speak Māori. Hey, mau tēnei te whakapāki arata nei nā kōrero matai. Hey. I don't know, I don't see the reason why we should be speaking English when you got an interpreter there gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
And it's in amongst you, hey. And that fellow over there, who's got this all sussed, I'm sure he can do that because he's got earmuffs on. Hey. Kura tāu te whakatakota ki mui ako tēnei. Kia nāwari no, ia tā tēnei noho mai ko nei. Mā reira, ka rongo kau te ki tēnei me te nako to tāo nei kōrero to tāta kōrero. Marama koe, ne Jackie, eh? Hey. Yeah. So that's probably what I can sort of give you fellas. Pēnei te kōrero tēnei wahine nei. What is measurable? Hey. What are the challenges? Well, there's the challenge there, eh? If you don't know what we're talking about, how do you know, hey, what our outcomes are? And how can you measure them? Kāre te reo pāke ni hāngai ki tō tāta nei whakaaro Māori. Hey. Mā te reo Māori, nō ko mātou nei, nā ko te ruku ati roti te reo Māori, hey. And kei punea, Jackie, pay her an extra $100,000, whatever. Hey, yeah. And then you'll understand the processes. We don't want you to be Māori, but if you want us, yeah, then we have to be Māori ourselves. Ko marama. Then we can have a cup of tea later and me and Keith can argue about what the hell was that all about. Well, no, get up with that.
Kia ora. Tūpene.
Tēnā tātou. Yeah, pai tō whakaaro matua. Awesome. Kia ora everyone. Firstly, it was a privilege for our marae to host our civic library rōpū the other day, o Te Aka, at Wharerangi Marae. And it's awesome to be in Puki at the moment as well, to be having some of these wānanga, some of these hui, all of these things starting to move out to marae. And I encourage that to continue, not just with the marae that they're currently at, but the other marae when they're ready and able to facilitate and host. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. So, yeah, we really enjoyed having that opportunity to host not only the council, but all the others that came to support that kaupapa. And what was really beautiful about that is it gave us an opportunity to talk about our whare. There's a whole bunch of people who are about to build another whare, I suppose, different type of whare, in town, where we're going to come into the library and utilise these beautiful facilities, no doubt they will be, but be a part of the conversation, not just us as our marae, but all the other marae being invited to that, was really beautiful. And for us to talk about things like MAORI and, you know, these practices that we have gone through on our marae, to make sure that the MAORI of our whare and our people is strong and going well, which it is, and be able to support councils and others in ways that we support our whānau, utilising some of the cultural practices, the tikanga that we go through, because yeah, back in the day we used to put MAORI in the ground, you know, to bring in whales and all these kind of things. So if we're talking about tangaroa and all of those practices we've done in the past, there's no reason why those can't be happening now, because that's how we are and that's how we work. So not for just the good of us, but the good of everybody. So thank you for bringing the wānanga to the marae, and look forward to the next one being here, and then hopefully other marae as well. Yeah. And then also being able to support other marae to be rebuilt, and in the future we can be there as well. So yeah, just want to acknowledge all those marae that are in their waiting time, just like our marae was for a long time not having a whare. Yeah, and we've gone through that now. We now have a beautiful whare, much like this, where we want to have people coming to be looked after. And one of the beautiful things is that our community is actually coming to our marae and asking us, how do we help support them as well in these sad situations. And I think last Thursday when the flood was, our road was already flooded, so we almost couldn't even get to our marae, like from the get-go of those rains. So we're still going through all of that, all of that hara, that hardship at the moment. So our whānau, although we don't all live near our marae, we mostly live in town, so we're probably helped by Puki, St Joseph's and all the other places that were open and available to support, and so too were our whānau there. We hope that we can provide that in the future. So even next week we have a kōrero with some whānau coming and talking about solar panels and, you know, those sustainable options for us as a marae to be able to, you know, not rely on the grid and these kind of things to keep us going. Power cuts and the importance of those, of power and water and all of the things that we've heard about that are current issues, and trying to make sure that our marae can be a place where people can come and it's safe, and they can access it, not just in a future flood, but any event that might be within our rohe. Pākehā Māori, doesn't matter. So thank you for allowing us to be able to share what we've gone through. Even our struggles and positive things of building a whare, and what we've been through for that, can also help, I guess, give guidance to the next processes, whether that be a library or a new whare tipuna at a different place. So yeah, our marae is all good. We look forward to starting wānanga there and opening up. We're having people just about, 2 or 3 times a week at the moment, rōpū coming in. And so we're open and available for those who need a place to come and have their wānanga, and all those kind of things that, culturally in our whare can enable that in a different way. yeah, we're here. We're here to support. On that though, it's a bit like who's going to go onto these committees and then the subcommittee and then all these things. It's very much like that for our maraes as well. We are, like you said, we're very small bands of people that are sort of trying to really run it, and it's up to us to grow our people, grow the next ones coming in. So I love your idea of maybe it might not be someone on the table, but others who might be able to come in to support, and it also grows them to be future people sitting at these tables and more tables that seem to be popping up all over the show and opportunities for us. And we want to be there. We just need to also be able to grow ourselves and grow our whānau to be able to build that capacity and knowledge, even processes of how these things work, because it's very different. On the marae, you do go round in a circle. Everyone has a say, and then these other processes can be slightly different to how our tikanga is on the marae. So it's up to us to adapt and learn both sides so that we can act and contribute positively, no matter what the table looks like. So yeah, that's all from Wharerangi, and we just wish the other maraes and the rest of the communities, the valleys, the 3s and the 2s, the very best on their journeys to rebuild, possibly to move and relocate to safer places, all those different, very tough kōrero that's going on at the moment. So, ngā mihi kia ora.
Kia ora, Tibene. Joseph. Any comment there, Joseph, from the Waihuki?
Yeah, kia ora matua. Yeah, no, it's been okay. Well, we're still plugging away. I think the difficult thing is that we've got some whānau that just don't want to come back. I just think the mental anguish is getting to them, but we're all trying to sort of pull in together and look at the best way moving forward, and that's going to be done on an individual basis. So we've got some whānau who can't wait to get back, and you've got other whānau who are just throwing their hands up and saying, hey, don't think we need to go through something like this again. So yeah, we're going to keep on going and keep on moving forward and try and give our whānau the support that they need. So this is going to be a bit more difficult and sort of like a longer road than we initially expected.
Kia ora, Joseph.
Kia ora.
I know this is governance, but Louise, did you want to make any comment today? It's always good to hear from the CEO. Great. Cool. I just didn't want to waste an opportunity, that's all. Right. General business. Do we have any general business, please? No general business. My closing comment is this. Thank you for today, for your attendance today. When we were building the marae here, we were led by a kaumātua called Te Ao Pehikara. He was a real forceful character. You did what you were told, and you did it quickly and without response. And he was the number 1 or number 2 speaker for the Maori Queen at the time, and he lived here in Napier. And he headed the build for this marae. One of the lasting things that I remember him saying to us one day, he was talking about aroha, something as simple as aroha. And he said to us, there are 2 seeds for aroha. One is called tika and one is called pono. And both those seeds need to germinate together. And until they germinate together, you will not get the fruit they call aroha. And I thought it was one of the most defining things I'd heard for many a time. And Chika was about doing things absolutely right, for the right reasons, respectful reasons, the whole thing. And Pono was about doing it with all the integrity in the world. And so there was, but one couldn't survive without the other. And fruit, the aroha wouldn't fruit unless both those ingredients, both those seeds were allowed to germinate together. That for me is underpins the whole thing about how we interact. It doesn't matter whether we interact as NGΑ MΑNUKANUKA or we interact as a marae, on the marae, Whararangi here or wherever. It doesn't matter. Those things apply the whole time, eh? And I thought it was one of the most wonderful kōrero I wanted to share with you today. And and thank you, Madam Mayor, for today. And with that, I'll close with karakia. Te māngai me ngāne hera pono e te toko toru tapu. E rā kua tutuki huki te kaupapa nāna nei urukuruku mai ai tātou i tēnei ata. E nei mātoke te inua i atu ki a koe. I whakatōngia mai huki te haa atoa wairua tapu i roti o mātou kaupapa. A te mutunga mai ka ki te ai huki tātou. Ta wairua a kei roto i tawa kaupapa. E nei mātou e whakaungia mātou i roti tā koutou aroha noa tēnā pai. He reti anō mātou ki te rangi Māria, ara i ngā wā katoa. Tēnā mākoe no ki te māngai hei tautoko mai, ai anei a kene ai. Kia ora tātou. I believe we have a cup of tea now. Is that right? Cool.